Hello, writerly friends, and welcome to another vlog in what I hoped was going to be an outlining vlog, but what has turned into a back to the drawing board brainstorming vlog. So if you're new here, real quickly, hi, I'm Joanna G. Holden, and I am a fantasy author and an author-tuber. I'm right in the middle of working on an adult high fantasy, and I am learning that there's a reason that Tolkien was in his, how old was he, his 60s, his 70s when he finally released these books. Before I move on, since YouTube is being crazy and weird, I did want to remind you that if you do like my content, please be sure to like this video and comment down below. You can comment one of your biggest struggles as a writer that you are facing right now, and we can commiserate together in the comments. But it really helps the YouTube algorithms, which we all know hate us, to recommend my videos to my own subscribers and to people who might enjoy watching as well. So be sure to like and comment, and then subscribe if you're not subscribed to see more fun fantasy writing content. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into a quick explanation of what the heck is going on, and then we're gonna get right into writing because, oh my gosh, I am so ready to be writing. So my last video was Camp Nano in July, and I aced camp. I hit my word count 2 weeks into the month, and by the end of the month I had completed a total of 42,000 words in my project. I was like right up to the end of Act 1. I think I had like maybe 1 or 2 scenes left, but I realized it just was not going the direction that I wanted it to. And so I decided to push pause, kind of back up, and just reconfigure what was going on. And I bought these to help me, which I'm so glad I did. Oh my gosh, these have been like, you guys know my love for K.M. Weiland in her character arcs book and how it revolutionized my writing. And this book, along with the workbook, have been equally helpful so far. However, it's been just over a month since I started reconfiguring the story. And I've already realized that it's still not going the way that I want it to, and that the reason for that is that I have been attempting to do, I'm working on the first book in a saga, of course, and the reason it's not working is because I've been attempting to write this first book as kind of like a self-contained origin story of our hero, and our main hero. There will be multiples, and it's not working. I don't want that. What I had originally wanted was for the first piece in this massive puzzle, and I kind of have that, but I feel like it's just too self-contained, too neatly wrapped up at the end. What I need is an explosion that just launches us into the rest of the series, so that by the end of the book, rather than feeling like, wow, that was a great story, we're like, oh my gosh, I have to get the next one so I know what's going to happen. So scratching the origin story idea and just making it that first piece of the puzzle it's supposed to be, still writing it solely from one point of view as far as I can tell, although I will probably continue. I liked the practice of just writing in extra points of view of any character that felt like I, as the author, needed to know more of what was going on in their plot line for the subplot purposes and all of that. So I just write in random point of view scenes, and they actually really helped me. So I'll probably keep doing that, but what I desperately need right now is to just back up again and just look at the whole series and see. I think I may honestly work backwards, go to what I envision the end of the series being, and work backwards and kind of figure out all of the books, like not actually figure out all of the books in all of their detail, but figure out enough of what's happening in them that by the time I get all the way back to this first book, I have a better understanding of what piece, that first piece of the puzzle needs to be, because it feels really forced right now. It feels like it just doesn't fit. So, wow, rambly. So I am going to sit down. I have my handy writer's journal where I had been just brain dumping all of the things for months. Now, last night I picked up my computer, opened up a fresh Google Doc, and just started typing random questions that kind of helped me to understand what I needed to work with. And then I have this, which used to be my super secret project notebook, but since I can't work on that right now, it has turned into another brain dump notebook for Coastlander, which is the name of I forgot to say that. That's kind of the working title, is Project Coastlander. Coastlander was the original title of the first book. Then I realized it sounded too historical fiction-y, and it sounded a lot like Outlander, and I didn't want people to think that it's like that kind of a story, like an our world and their world kind of. So I'm going with it for right now, but hopefully this will inspire you if you also are working on a big series, or if you are working on high fantasy, or just like a very complex story, regardless of the genre. Then this video is definitely going to be for you. So keep watching, please. let's get the colored pens and let's go to work. First writing session of the day, and yes, I'm outside, and yes, it is bright, so I can hold my notebook, but I had a really good writing session. It was simultaneously less productive and more productive than I had thought that it would be. It was less productive in that I didn't figure out anything really about this first book. I didn't figure out what I wanted to do for the first book yet. But I did figure out the two main characters, so like our main hero and our main antagonist. I did figure out their journey starting from what they're doing at the end of the series all the way back to the first book. I just didn't actually write what was in the first book. So we're still figuring that part out, but I feel really good about what I've gotten written so far. I figured out some of the motivation behind the main villain. I figured out a couple of different things regarding different antagonistic forces, which is going to be really nice. And then I did have, literally this is all that I had for my main character, but it opened up a whole bunch of opportunities. Like it really, here, I'll switch hands again, so I can get a better angle, sorry. It opened up a whole new set of avenues for me to pursue for the midpoint of the series, which was, I think, the part that was making the first book itself very difficult. The entire premise of the series revolves around, and see, this is where I feel like I really need to nail down the premise of the series, because I have in my head this vague aesthetic almost of what it's going to be, and I know what certain plot points are going to be throughout, but I can't sit down and say, well, the series is about this. So let me attempt to do so. Basically, it's your high fantasy series where you have a main character who ends up getting way in over their heads trying to pursue X, Y, and Z, realizes that the villain they thought was the villain was actually way bigger than they had thought, and they end up having to make a whole bunch of choices. See, it's already sounding like super generic. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. You have a magical world, right? You've got a magic system, you've got magical creatures, you've got magical races, you've got dark magic, which is very destructive and very corrupting, and then you have our main character who's in the middle of all of this in what he thinks is a political battle. And there's all of this, you know, political agendas and intrigues and backstabbing and courtroom drama, and you've got all of these things, all the treaties and the negotiations between these different nations and these different people groups and, you know, the different monarchies. But underlying all of it is this magical plot line going on that he and most people know nothing about. And he kind of uncovers it along with some of the other characters. There's going to be 6 points of view, I believe, overall. Discovers it and realizes that they have to go to the root of this problem in order to get it out. And save, in essence, save the world. It will have a series ending like Save the World kind of thing, but again, I want it to be very personal to Mark specifically, and the villain themselves needs to be very, very personally connected to Mark. So I have the main villain, and the main protagonist's basic series layout. what I need to do right now in my next writing session, which starts as soon as I go back inside, is figure out the basic series plot by working backwards, I think, from some of the other characters. I think that's what I'm going to end up doing next, is working backwards through my other 4 points of view characters and seeing what unfolds. And then by the end of the day, I should have enough material to really next week start honing in more on book 1. I think I really just need to take some time and explore, again, just the premise of the series. Actually be able to say, this is what my series is about. I'm going to go do that, and I will talk to you at the end of it. And you might actually end up hearing the series premise. We'll see. Let's go. Okay, so this afternoon's writing sessions have all gone really well. But I thought I'd pop in here for just a minute and kind of explain a little bit of some of the challenge that I'm facing with the points of view that I'm working on and why they're giving me so much trouble. So there's always been an existing storyline for the series. It's changed a little bit here and there, but overall I've always kind of known that, like, this happens and then this happens and then this happens and then this is the end. And I've had a selection of characters that I've always worked with, some new, some taken away, but for the core group have always been the same, and they've always been the point of view characters. This go around, and this is new as of May through like July, I have decided on exactly 6 point of view characters who will all be kind of sort of main characters. Like, Mark is our main character, but the others are right up there with him. And of those 6, only 2 were existing point of view characters the previous version. And honestly, they're the only 2 that I really worked with in this book. Like, I haven't gotten past book 1 before, but these are the only 2 points of view characters that I've written for the most part. And then 2 of the others have been characters in the story in previous versions, but they were like side characters that did not get a lot of screen time. One of them was particularly like only in, I think, 1 or 2 books and was not a huge player at all. And then 2 characters are completely brand new. Like, I have made them up in the last year, specifically for this version of the series. So I've been doing the working backward thing on all 6, and thus far I have 4 done today. The one I don't really like. It's the second point of view character that I've already done before, and I'm just not sure that I like how things have lined up. Like, I think that the events from the climax back through the midpoint up to this character's first book, I think, are okay events. I'm just not sure that I like the order that I have them written down, and his is going to need a lot of help. But then and then the one point of view character that I had completely brand new made up came to me like right away, like as clearly as Mark's has. And then one of these side character ones, again, just came to me right away. It was like a movie in my head where I was able to see the whole story. Like, you know, her character arc is amazing. I love her so much. She is going to be the most amazing character. I'm so excited for her. But I have 2 characters that I have no idea what to do with. One of them is a brand new, one of them was a side character before. And of the 6, they're the 2 that I think could be potentially 2 of the most interesting, just because of their fantasy races. There are 5 races in the series, with 2 sub-races, would we call them, like newer races that kind of evolved over time. And one of my characters is a naiad, who I love that race so much, that fantasy race. There's just so much fun to work with about them. And actually, I did write a scene from his perspective in this last Camp Nano attempt, and oh, I loved it so much. I loved him. I loved, like, the immersive world building that I was able to do instead of a plot dump or an info dump of world building. I was able to just show the world building through him, and it was amazing. And the other character is one of these sub races, and like their whole history is just fascinating to me. And her as a character, like, I think she's going to be amazing. But I have no idea what they're doing. Like, I know kind of sort of where they could fit in at the end, but they're the ones that are going to need the most help, and I feel like I really need to nail them down before I go back to Mark's book one. Because again, I want this first book to feel like the first piece of the puzzle, and I want there to be callbacks later to things that have happened in this first book that were like a taste of the things that are going to happen across all of the points of view. So I have to figure out what those points of view are. So I have about, I'm going to say like 15 or 20 minutes before I have to get people fed. So I'm going to take my notebook outside again, watch the kids play, and do some writing, and start with the Naiad and just see if I can work backwards from his perspective. I just have to remember everything that I wrote for him in his point of view, because he has a very convoluted backstory that I kind of need to figure out what to do with. Well, not a backstory, like where he starts his story is very convoluted and very, like, it's complicated for everybody. So it's gonna be awesome though. I will come back in a minute with some more explanation as to where I am, and hopefully a little bit maybe about that series premise I was talking about. I have not even gotten there yet. Like, at this point, I'm just trying to figure out these characters and figure out what they are all doing, and how it all ties together back to the beginning. So this is the part of fantasy and science fiction and historical fiction even that can be very complicated, and that can make it a lot longer process than some other genres. It's impossible to just throw it together in a month and then just draft it. I've tried. It doesn't work that way. So I'm just giving myself grace to do a little bit at a time, and to just, wait a little bit in, and then be like, nope, it's okay, that's not quite right, and then wait a little bit in, and then be like, nope, that's not quite right, until eventually I know it will come together and I will get it. So encouragement to those of you who may be struggling with similar issues, it will come together. You just have to keep pressing on, and occasionally give yourself some really good breaks. So yeah, I'm gonna go do that, and I will talk to you guys in just a minute. Alright everybody, it is now almost a full week since I filmed the footage that you just saw, because my family has been sick. My kids got sick, and then my husband got sick, and then I got sick. You can probably still hear it in my voice. I'm still recovering my voice. I actually lost my voice for about 3 days, so we're going to see how well this part of the video goes. But I did want to wrap it up because I did something really amazing this last day of being sick that I wanted to share with you guys. I did film footage of it, and now that I have my voice back, I'm going to walk you guys through what I did for the final part of phase 1 of my outlining of my series, which is what this has kind of turned into, which was taking all of the ideas that I had in this notebook, just the basic bare bones structure for each of the 6 points of view, taking post-its, colored post-its for my 6 characters, and storyboarding my outline for the whole series. If it sounds crazy, it's actually not as crazy, because I don't have that much detail figured out of my series yet. So, I mean, I do, but not enough, like, for that. For this part, it wasn't that detailed. So, I'm going to show you guys the clips that I took yesterday of me actually doing the storyboarding, and I'm going to walk you through what I did and what I have. I didn't want to spend the extra money and buy something brand new, since I actually had a used trifold poster board in my room that I had used for one of my daughter's co-op classes, and plus I was sick, so I couldn't go out and get it anyways. So I decided to just repurpose that. So I opened it up, I pulled off all the stuff that had been from the class, and because I had Sharpied the name of the class on the poster board, even though I ended up really not using the poster board very much for that class, I just covered it up with some white cardboard. Something you'll notice about this particular storyboard is it's not going to be the prettiest, the nicest, the most neatly organized, the most aesthetically pleasing. It's honestly quite messy, but so am I. Like, I'm a messy artist when it comes to my creative process, so I'm not really worried about it. Then I took out my notebook and I sketched out a basic story grid for the entire thing and how I wanted to section things off. I decided to give my series 5 basic phases, which follow the 5 big plot moments across the story from beginning to end, and I labeled those going vertically, end of the series, backwards to beginning of the series, so the end was at the top and the beginning was at the bottom. So plot was vertical, and then horizontally I did based off of location. So there are 3 main continents across this world that I've created, and an ocean kingdom. So I just kind of made the board,
you know, west, central, and east, and ocean, kind of in all the places where they'll be on the map. This may feel like a weird step, but it genuinely helps me as I'm looking at it to see physically where everybody is, even though I don't have to have specific locations. I know in my head, okay, I know where they are. If I know they're in this section, then I can see it in my head. So I didn't fill this out with actual material, like written down material, which is good because I can actually show you this. I cannot show you the details of what I did on the post-its because it's literal spoilers for the whole series. So then I took my post-its and I assigned each character a color, and then I just started with one character. I picked the character that I knew the most about their story, and I started writing the notes, one for each of the phases. Although it ended up being more than one per phase, it was more like one for each section of plot that I knew. This one character's ended up being pretty much complete by the time I was done. Like, obviously there's a ton of details that need to be put in, but yeah, I pretty much know what's happening in her story, which is great, because everybody else is full of gaps. So many gaps. I did have one character that I did not end up getting to, and that is because their particular character arc is slightly different than everyone else's, and I wanted to really make sure that I took some time separate. Plus, it was like 11:30 at night at that point, and I was kind of done. My brain was done. Well, really, my brain was wired, but I was very tired, so I could not finish. The wonderful thing about setting it up this way and going ahead and putting it on a storyboard that I kind of knew was going to happen, but I had forgotten that was going to happen, was that I was able to see connections between characters. As I would flip through different characters' pages and I would pull out notes on what they were doing throughout the story, I would remember by looking at the board, oh yeah, so-and-so is also here, or so-and-so and also is part of that storyline, that plot line. So I connected those ties in a way that I don't think that I would have if I had just continued to work on them individually over time. And I ended up coming up with some amazing, at least to me, they're honestly probably terrible ideas, but they're the ideas that will get me to the good ideas. So in my head, they're still good. But I was able to come up with some really great story ideas for the two characters that I was struggling with the most, who I did not know anything about because they're my new characters, now have so much story and have really cemented roles in the series. And it's just, oh, I love it so much. Some other ideas that I'm having for this while it's at this big, giant overview picture is taking similar cards but of different colors, possibly even using just my kids' construction paper because that has some additional colors, and going through and finding out all of the different forces at work. So all of our different antagonistic forces, from things like monsters to political powers to rogue armies to individuals who are like really powerful. And then to do the same with the allies, all of the different good guy forces, all of the different not really great, but we need them on our side type forces. All of those pieces on there so I can see where everyone is at different stages in the story, and I can kind of see the progressions of the power plays across this really weird game board that I set up. That was the beginning of the storyboarding process, and if I could say anything about storyboarding is that if you haven't tried it, you should at least give it a try. It looks crazy complicated, but it doesn't really have to be. Literally all it is being able to zoom out, in essence, on your story and see it at a glance. What's going on. It'll also help you to feel like you're breaking down your story a little bit more, and it will help you to physically see the gaps. There were a lot of gaps for my main character, Mark. Like, I know he's supposed to be here in these general locations, across these general plot points, doing these general kind of sort of things. Zero details on most of it, so he's going to need a lot of work. He's had so many changes, he needs a lot of work. The other thing that it does, which, and this may be just a me thing, but I know a lot of people are actually like this, I really struggle with making connections unless I can see it and touch it and feel it, and I especially struggle if it's just black and white, because then nothing stands out to me. By assigning color, my brain automatically connects this color with this person or with this plotline or with whatever it is that I'm working with, which then allows me to remember things and to be able to stay organized. So if you find yourself easily confused by looking at long pages of outline, maybe try the color coordinating too. It sounds complicated and like it would be just another step, but to me it's not really an extra step. It's assigning a color that is going to be that character's color for the rest of the series, and it'll be there for the whole time, and it'll automatically give my brain a route to work with no matter what I'm doing. Outlining, plotting, brainstorming, revising and editing, all of those things, and I now have a color that I associate with that character that makes it a lot easier for me to see. I wish I could show you guys, I wish so badly I could show you guys up close all of these cool plot points and all the things across this board, but I can't, so I'm going to zoom out really far and maybe blur it a little bit and show you how it looks now, again, minus the one character and all of the other additional things. I do plan on continuing to film the storyboarding process, as well as the ongoing brainstorming and plotting and outlining of this series, as I have several steps that will be happening next that I actually know what they are. I don't know the entire process of this because I've never done a full series to an end before like this. So do stay tuned, and if you too are writing a series, make sure you're subscribed and the notification bell is on, so that it will notify you. Make sure to continue checking those notifications because more videos are coming your way as we're heading into Preptober this month in preparation for NaNoWriMo. I have a new-ish sort of project for Nano that I'm really excited about, and I have a lot of prep to do for it. So let's do this together. I love you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have an amazing rest of the week writing, and I'll talk to you guys in another video. Bye!